There's a moment every Capricorn remembers. You walk into a family gathering, it could be a birthday, a dinner, a reunion, and the room shifts. Subtly. Almost like a gust of invisible wind swept through before you even spoke. Someone smiles at you, but the warmth doesn't quite reach their eyes. Their hug lingers just a second too long, like they're trying to smell your success. And you feel it. Not in your mind, but in your body, in your gut. Something isn't right. The words they say, "Oh, it's so good to see you. You're doing so well these days." But behind those words, behind that overly pleasant tone, you sense something darker, envy, quiet but heavy, and familiar. Capricorn, you didn't imagine it. You weren't being dramatic. That wasn't insecurity speaking, it was your ancient instinct. Because here's the truth, someone in your own bloodline envies you deeply. They watch your every move, not out of admiration, but out of a secret bitterness they would never dare admit aloud. Somewhere along the way, your growth became a mirror they couldn't look into. Your discipline reminded them of their own laziness. Your ambition made them feel like failures in their own story. So, they didn't cheer for you, they studied you. And you kept wondering why their support felt cold. Why your victories were met with silence. Why your pain was dismissed. Why your name was always somehow absent when they praised others. But here's what you never told anyone. You always sensed this. Even before it became obvious. Even before the betrayal. Capricorns are ruled by Saturn, and Saturn teaches through patterns. Through time. Through weight. This video is not about gossip. It's not about hating those who couldn't love you right. It's about liberation. Because once you understand this hidden truth, that envy can live quietly inside family, you can stop begging for love where only comparison exists. You can stop doubting your own glow just because someone close to you flinched at its brightness. Capricorn, tonight we step into the truth you've always felt but never fully named. Let's begin. Part 1. When family feels like competition. Capricorn, there's something nobody teaches you, that sometimes, the greatest competition isn't at your workplace or online. It's sitting across from you at the dinner table. And it's quiet. Polite. Dressed as small talk. But it's there. You notice it in the way they ask about your job, not with interest, but with subtle tension. You hear it when they repeat your accomplishments, always with a qualifier. Yeah, she got promoted, but you know she works way too much. He's doing well, I guess, but is that really success if he's always so serious? They'll say they love you. They'll say they're proud of you. But what you feel is resistance, not celebration. Why? Because your success exposes their stagnation. Because your rise reminds them of where they could have gone, but didn't. Because you keep growing, and they stopped trying. Capricorn, this is where it becomes personal. Your path was not handed to you. You fought for it. You sacrificed comfort, relationships, even your own rest, just to build something real. And you didn't do it to prove anyone wrong. You did it because there was something in your soul that said, I have a purpose, and I cannot sit still. But to someone who gave up on their own dream, your drive feels like a threat. Not because you did anything wrong, but because you didn't settle like they did. And so they envy you. Not openly, but deeply. And here's what stings the most, Capricorn. They won't compete with you directly, they'll compete emotionally. They'll try to diminish your milestones, compare you to others in subtle ways, question your choices like they care, but it's not concern. It's control. But you were never in competition with them. You were in competition with the version of yourself that refused to stay small. Life lesson. Not everyone claps because they care, some people clap because it keeps them close enough to watch you fall. Real love doesn't shrink you to feel safe. Let go of the need to be accepted by those who only value you when you're struggling. You were not born to stay in rooms where your presence threatens their peace. You were born to lead even if you have to lead alone. Part 2. The silent sabotage, envy wearing a smile. Capricorn, if envy always showed up in obvious ways, your life would be easier. You'd see the dagger before it was thrown. You'd feel the cold shoulder before the words ever landed. But that's not how it works, not in family, not with the people you once trusted to protect you. Envy rarely enters through the front door. It creeps in through cracks, the ones created by familiarity, proximity, and blind loyalty. And when it's hiding inside someone close to you, it rarely announces itself with anger. No. It wears a smile. It dresses itself up as humor, concern, or even love. You've seen it before, someone in your family making jokes that feel too sharp, too specific, aimed right at the parts of you you're most proud of. They laugh, and the room laughs with them. But you feel it, a sting hidden beneath the joke. A subtle insult wrapped in a blanket of just kidding. But Capricorn, you know when someone is laughing with you and when they're laughing at you. It happens in conversation too. You mention a plan you're excited about, and they respond with a long pause and a quick, "Oh, interesting." They don't ask follow-up questions. They don't engage. The air gets tense. Why? Because what you're building reminds them of everything they gave up on. And rather than face that within themselves, they direct it toward you, quietly. Silent sabotage doesn't come from enemies. It comes from people who pretend to be on your side. They'll nod when you speak, but their eyes scan the room. They'll say, "I'm happy for you," but their voice cracks slightly on the word happy. They'll volunteer advice you didn't ask for, just to insert doubt into your confidence. They will question your choices not to help you grow, but to slow you down. They will tell others you're too ambitious, too distant, too serious, painting you as cold, when in fact, you're focused. And when you're not around, they become the quiet curator of your reputation, telling stories that bend the truth just enough to make people question who you really are. Capricorn, this is not paranoia. This is a pattern. And you've seen it repeat enough times to know it's not accidental. They may act like they're neutral, like they're simply concerned. But every time you take a step forward, they find a way to add weight to your feet. That's not love. That's spiritual sabotage. And it's meant to confuse you. Because when the attack comes from a stranger, you fight back. But when it comes from someone you love, someone you've shared dinners and holidays with, someone who knows your wounds, you hesitate. You second-guess your instincts. You tell yourself, maybe I'm being too sensitive. Maybe I misunderstood. But your spirit knows better. Capricorn is not easily shaken. When your spirit says something is off, it is not emotion, it is wisdom. Let's call this what it is, sabotage disguised as support. But support that only works when you stay small is not support at all. Life lesson. Never confuse proximity with loyalty. Someone can sit at your table and still pray for your failure. Capricorn, your intuition is not a weakness. It is a compass gifted by the divine to protect what you are building. Trust it. And remember this, a real supporter will never make you shrink to feel safe. If their love only flows when you're silent, it was never love to begin with. Part 3, you felt it before you knew it. Capricorn, before you ever had proof, you had a feeling. Not a thought. Not a suspicion. A feeling, quiet, persistent, and heavy. It didn't show up all at once. It arrived slowly, like fog rolling in. You'd be sitting in the same room with certain family members, and suddenly feel your body tense. Your smile would fade, even though no one said anything cruel. Something just shifted. You'd go home after family gatherings feeling emotionally drained, and you didn't know why. And even when nothing was said aloud, your spirit whispered, something isn't right. Capricorn, what you experienced wasn't drama. It was spiritual sensitivity. And whether the world believes it or not, your soul speaks long before reality confirms it. You are ruled by Saturn, the planet of structure, time, and karma. That's not just astrological trivia. It's a blueprint. Capricorns often feel things in their bones before they understand them in their minds. You are built to recognize energetic shifts, especially when someone close to you is hiding their true intentions. There were moments when you'd share good news and feel the temperature in the room drop. Moments when you'd mention a dream, and suddenly the person beside you changed the subject. Moments when you'd enter a room, and everything got a little quieter, a little tenser. They didn't have to say they envied you. They didn't have to roll their eyes or speak ill. You felt it in the awkward pauses, the half-hearted smiles, the eyes that couldn't meet yours. But because you're Capricorn, you stayed calm. You didn't accuse. You gave them the benefit of the doubt again and again. You even blamed yourself. Maybe I'm imagining it. Maybe I'm expecting too much. Maybe I need to be more humble. No, Capricorn. You weren't imagining it. You weren't expecting too much. You were discerning what most people choose to ignore. That's part of your power and also your pain. Because you often carry what others cannot admit. You feel the fracture before the relationship breaks. You sense the betrayal before it's revealed. And while everyone else is still pretending, you're already grieving the love that isn't real. But you kept showing up. You kept loving. Because that's who you are. Capricorns don't walk away just because it gets complicated. You give second chances. You play the long game. You believe people can grow because you had to. And yet, there's a limit. And now you're beginning to see it. A connection that drains your spirit is not worth your silence. Your intuition has been right from the beginning. It's not just that someone envies you. It's that you've always known and you've just been waiting for permission to trust what your soul already told you. Life lesson. Capricorn, intuition is not a luxury. It is your survival. You don't need proof to walk away from energy that harms you. Your spirit doesn't lie. And if the feeling of peace disappears when they enter the room, that's all the truth you need. Trust yourself, not just because you're wise, but because your peace is sacred. Part 4. When they minimize your wins. Capricorn, you've earned every inch of your success. No one handed you anything. You've worked late nights, sacrificed comfort, stayed disciplined when others gave up, and fought battles behind the scenes that nobody ever knew about. And finally, when the breakthrough came, when the hard work started to show, you turned to your family with hope in your heart. But instead of pride, you were met with silence. Instead of celebration, you were met with distance. Instead of "I'm proud of you," you heard, "Oh, must be nice," or worse, "That's cool, I guess." They didn't clap. They didn't share your joy. They changed the subject. They moved on. Capricorn, that wasn't just a bad day or someone being distracted. That was intentional. That was a choice to minimize your moment, to dim your light so they wouldn't feel so far behind. This is a difficult truth. Not everyone who shares your blood wants to see you rise. To some of them, your success is a mirror they can't bear to look into. It shows them how little they've done with their own gifts. It reminds them of the chances they never took, the discipline they never maintained, the dreams they let die quietly. And rather than confront their regret, they project it onto you. They say things like, "Must be nice to have free time to do that. You're lucky things just fall into place for you. You've always been the favorite anyway." They'll act as if your success was handed to you. As if you didn't pay for it with years of pressure, isolation, sacrifice, and silence. And if they can't dismiss your effort, they'll diminish your result. They'll tell you, "That's not a real job," or "That's nothing compared to what so-and-so did." Suddenly, the cousin who did something once 5 years ago becomes the new benchmark, because anything is better than admitting you have outgrown the box they tried to keep you in. But here's the truth. Capricorn never asks for applause. You don't need validation. You don't do it for attention. You do it because your soul demands progress. But that doesn't mean their coldness doesn't hurt. You expected support, not praise. But at the very least, basic joy. What you got instead was resistance masked as indifference. This is a spiritual tactic. Not from them directly, but from the energy working through them. The goal isn't just to ignore your win. The goal is to make you question if it was even a win at all. To make you feel like no matter how far you go, it's never enough. To keep you craving their approval while slowly losing your own confidence. But Capricorn, you must understand this. Their failure to clap for you has nothing to do with your worth. And everything to do with their wounds. Life lesson. Never measure the value of your progress by the volume of their applause. Silence in the face of your success is not humility, it's exposure. You were not meant to shrink for the comfort of those unwilling to grow. Celebrate yourself, Capricorn. Loudly, proudly, freely. Because you know what it took to get here, and you know where you're headed next. Part 5. The Mask of Protection, Fake Concern. Capricorn, one of the most deceptive forms of sabotage is the one that hides behind the mask of love. They say it with a soft voice, a gentle tone, a look of concern in their eyes. I just don't want you to get hurt. Are you sure this is the right move? I mean, do you really think this is realistic? It doesn't sound like hate. It doesn't sound like envy. But make no mistake, this is fear disguised as care, and it's aimed right at your momentum. This kind of energy doesn't stop you with aggression, it slows you down with hesitation. It doesn't shout, you'll fail. Instead, it whispers, but what if you fail? They act like they're protecting you. But what they're really doing is projecting their own fear, their own regret, and their own limited mindset onto your vision. Capricorn, your path isn't average. You've always felt it, that urge to climb higher, to build something that lasts, to follow a truth inside you that others can't see. So when you step into new levels, whether it's a business, a creative risk, a relocation, or a relationship, you threaten their idea of what's possible. Because if you succeed, they'll have to admit they never even tried. And rather than deal with that internal discomfort, they try to stop you before you prove them wrong. They tell themselves they're just looking out for you. But deep down, it's not your safety they're concerned with. It's their own insecurity. Your boldness activates their fear. Your clarity exposes their confusion. Your risks remind them of their comfort zone and how long they've lived inside it. And so, they speak doubt wrapped in love. They tell you to wait, to slow down, to be more realistic, not because it's best for you, but because it's less uncomfortable for them. And the worst part, because it sounds loving, you almost believe it. You start thinking maybe they're right. Maybe it's too soon. Maybe you're aiming too high. Maybe you should scale back. But Capricorn, whose life are you building? Whose legacy are you honoring? Yours or theirs? If their protection only kicks in when you're growing, it was never protection. It was fear, dressed up to look like love. Life lesson. Real love won't ask you to play small in the name of safety. Capricorn, you were not born to be cautious, you were born to be called. If their concern leads you to hesitation, it's not wisdom, it's emotional manipulation. Trust your own voice. You don't need permission to rise, especially not from people who fear your wings. Protect your vision by remembering who gave it to you, not them, but something higher. Part 6. Why they can't celebrate you. Capricorn, by now you've probably stopped expecting applause. But what still stings is realizing that some people not only fail to celebrate you, they're incapable of it. It's not just that they don't want to, it's that they don't know how. Because your joy, your radiance, your breakthroughs, highlight what they've never become. You've worked in silence for years, building, healing, sacrificing, evolving. And when you finally stood in the light, when you finally let the world see what you've been shaping in the dark, some family members turned their backs. Not because you were arrogant, not because you were loud, but because your presence made their comfort zones feel smaller than ever. Your happiness became a confrontation. Your joy became a challenge. Your clarity became a reminder of how unclear they are within themselves. You are a mirror, Capricorn. And the closer someone stands to you, the more clearly they see their own reflection. For those who are healing, your reflection inspires growth. But for those who are still hiding from themselves, your reflection feels like exposure. So instead of clapping, they critique. Instead of cheering, they compare. Instead of saying, I'm proud of you, they look for subtle ways to reduce your moment. A joke, a sideways glance, an unrelated story they suddenly need to share. You may wonder, why can't they just be happy for me? The answer is painful, but freeing. Because in your light, they feel small. And rather than grow, they resent you for shining. And here's what makes it spiritual. You didn't ask to be the mirror. You didn't demand their attention. You simply became who you were always meant to be. And your presence alone unsettled everything they've been avoiding. Some of them have buried resentment so deeply, they don't even realize why your success upsets them. They may act confused, pretend they're tired, busy, or too distracted to notice your big moment. But their soul knows. Your blessing touched a nerve they've kept hidden for years. Capricorn, it's not your job to make them clap. It's not your duty to shrink until they feel safe. You were born to rise, even if your rising exposes the shadows they never faced. Life lesson. You are not responsible for other people's emotional reactions to your success. If your joy feels like a threat to them, it's because they've forgotten their own. Capricorn, never apologize for evolving. And never let someone's silence convince you that you are not worthy of celebration. The absence of their applause is not the absence of your greatness. It is the evidence that you are walking a path they never dared to take. Part 7. The pain of being ignored in your lowest moments. Capricorn, you're the strong one. The grounded one. The one everyone turns to when things fall apart, until it's you who needs help. And suddenly, no one is there. You've noticed this, haven't you? When you're celebrating, they're silent. But when you're suffering, they're even quieter. You've gone through things that would have broken others. Financial pressure, health scares, heartbreak, deep betrayal. And you bore it all with dignity. You didn't post it. You didn't beg for sympathy. You carried it like you always do, privately, responsibly, silently. But in those moments, didn't you hope someone in your family would notice? A text, a call, a knock on your door, something, anything. But instead, the world kept spinning. Your pain became invisible to the very people you had once shown up for. And this is the cruel part, Capricorn. They didn't forget. They just didn't care enough to stop. Because your strength became their excuse to neglect you. They told themselves, he's fine. She's strong. They'll get through it. But the truth, they just didn't want to sit in your storm. They didn't want to witness your vulnerability because they had nothing real to offer in return. Worse still, some of them seemed almost relieved that you were down. As if your struggle gave them permission to feel better about their own life. As if your low moment finally made them feel less behind. And that hurts in a way no stranger ever could. Because when the world overlooks you, it's painful. But when your own family does it, it cuts into your sense of belonging. Capricorn, you've given your time, your money, your advice, your loyalty. And yet, when your soul whispered for comfort, they disappeared. They changed the subject. They moved on. And the message was clear, you're useful when strong, invisible when weak. But you are not a tool. You are not a structure holding up their house while yours crumbles. The people who only see your value when you're functioning are not your tribe. They are beneficiaries of your strength, not guardians of your heart. And you deserve more. Life lesson. Capricorn, your strength is a gift, but it should never be your prison. You are allowed to need. You are allowed to feel. You are allowed to expect support from those you've poured into. And when that support never comes, let it teach you this. Loyalty must be mutual, or it becomes self-betrayal. You don't need to suffer in silence to prove your resilience. You are worthy of care, especially in your darkest hour. Part 8. The energy battle. This is spiritual, not personal. Capricorn, what if I told you that this pain, the betrayal, the envy, the silence was never really about you? Not your personality, not your choices. Not even your success. What if it was about something deeper? Something spiritual? Because here's the truth. Your life carries an energy that not everyone can handle. Your ambition isn't just personal, it's prophetic. Your presence doesn't just shift a room, it activates energy that people have been avoiding for years. Some of the resistance you're feeling from family isn't rooted in what you've done, but in what you represent. You represent order in a world of chaos. Discipline in a world of excuses. Focus in a world of distraction. Spiritual alignment in a family of avoidance. That's why some of them act strange when you speak about your goals. Why they mock your routines. Why they roll their eyes when you talk about building something that matters. Because when you walk into the room, you awaken something dormant in them. You don't preach. You don't shame. But just by being who you are, you shine a light on the shadow they haven't dealt with. And instead of facing it, they react to you. Capricorn, some people become spiritual vessels without even knowing it. They allow envy, bitterness, and comparison to grow in them like weeds. And soon, they're no longer operating from love, but from fear. From lack. From resentment. And when those energies move through them, you become a target. Not because you did anything wrong, but because the light inside you reveals what's been buried inside them. That's why you get attacked for setting boundaries. Why you're punished for walking in integrity. Why your growth becomes a problem, because it disrupts spiritual systems that were never built to support your expansion. This is not just emotional, it's energetic. And once you understand that, you stop taking it personally. You realize their coldness isn't proof that you're too much. It's evidence that your frequency has shifted and they're still stuck in the old vibration. You've outgrown their survival patterns. You've healed wounds they still carry. You've chosen evolution and they've chosen comfort. And now, your presence feels like pressure to them. But that's not your burden to hold. Life lesson. Capricorn, spiritual energy doesn't lie even when people do. Their discomfort is not a sign that you should shrink. It's confirmation that your growth is real. You are not here to make others comfortable. You are here to embody the truth of who you are, even if that truth shakes everything around you. This is not a personal attack. It's a spiritual response. And your only responsibility is to keep walking in light. Part 9. How to spiritually protect yourself without becoming bitter. Capricorn, you've been hurt, but you don't want to become hard. You've been betrayed, but you don't want to become bitter. You've been envied, but you refuse to live in paranoia. And that's the difference between you and them. You don't want revenge. You don't want to return the coldness. You just want peace. You want clarity. You want to walk through life unbothered, untouched, and untangled from their energy. So how do you do that, Capricorn? How do you protect yourself spiritually without closing your heart? It begins with boundaries. Boundaries are not walls. They are filters. They allow in what nourishes you and keep out what drains you. And just because someone is family doesn't mean they're entitled to your private life. They are not entitled to your plans, your process, or your peace. You don't have to explain yourself every time you say no. You don't have to justify why you're unavailable. You don't owe your energy to those who have misused it. Start protecting your plans until they become reality. Not every ear is ready to hear your dreams. Some only listen so they can prepare their doubt in advance. So speak less. Move quietly. Let your actions reveal your path, not your announcements. And spiritually, you need a shield. You need space in your day to pray, to ground, to align, to release. You need rituals that cleanse you of what others try to project onto you. Because envy leaves residue, and you can't afford to carry that into your calling. Even your silence can be a spiritual weapon. When they provoke you, stay still. When they bait you, stay wise. Your calm is a form of warfare. Your peace is resistance. Because nothing unsettles those in chaos like someone who refuses to engage. And Capricorn, release the anger. Not for them, but for you. Bitterness is a slow poison. It corrodes your focus. It clouds your wisdom. And it gives your enemies exactly what they want, your vibration lowered to theirs. You don't have to hate them. But you don't have to keep them close either. Wish them well and keep walking. Because what you carry is too sacred to be pulled into shadows. Life lesson. Capricorn, spiritual protection doesn't mean isolating yourself, it means elevating your standards. Not everyone deserves access to the version of you that took years to build. Let them speak. Let them doubt. Let them distance themselves. You are not here to be understood by everyone. You are here to be faithful to your path. Protect your energy not with fear, but with wisdom. Because peace is not passive, it's earned. And you've earned it. Part 10. Their envy is the proof you are chosen. Capricorn, have you ever asked yourself, if I'm doing everything right, why do they still hate me? If I've been kind, if I've worked hard, if I've stayed silent, why am I still the target? Here's the answer, and it may change everything. They don't envy you because you've done something wrong. They envy you because you're walking in something they cannot touch. You are chosen. And that choice has consequences. It's not your job, your clothes, your house, or your money that unsettles them. It's your calling, your energy, your alignment. Even if you stripped away all your success, even if you started from zero, you would still be envied. Because it's not about what you have. It's about who you are. Capricorn, you carry something ancient. A spiritual resilience that was born in silence, carved through pain, and refined through time. You don't seek power, but it follows you. You don't beg for attention, but your presence changes the atmosphere. You don't try to lead, but others still follow your example. That's divine favor, and they feel it. And because they can't explain it, they resent it. Because they can't imitate it, they try to mock it. Because they can't carry what you carry, they try to break it. But here's the irony, their envy only reveals your elevation. No one envies the ordinary. No one plots against what isn't powerful. No one gossips about what isn't glowing. The attacks, the whispers, the betrayal, it's all spiritual evidence that you are carrying something rare. You were never meant to blend in, Capricorn. You were never meant to be accepted by everyone. You were meant to disrupt old cycles, heal family wounds, and build new legacies. That kind of work attracts attention, not all of it good. And so yes, the envy hurts. But it's also proof. Proof that the light in you is real. Proof that the mission over your life is active. Proof that you've broken through levels they never dared to enter. They hated Joseph because of his dream. They envied Abel because his offering was accepted. They tried to kill Moses before he even became a leader. Capricorn, this is not new. This is ancient. And just like them, you were marked for something greater. So let the envy speak. Let the resistance rise. None of it can stop what was written over your life long before they ever knew your name. Life lesson. Capricorn, their envy is not a curse, it's a confirmation. You are walking in a light they cannot explain and a grace they cannot replicate. Stop asking for approval from those who were never meant to understand your calling. You are not here to be liked. You are here to be aligned. And if their discomfort grows louder as you rise, let it. Because their envy is just proof that you're getting closer to your destiny. Conclusion, a word to the wounded warrior. Capricorn, if you've made it this far, let me speak directly to the version of you that's still healing. You didn't imagine the silence. You didn't misunderstand the energy. You didn't misread the tension. What you felt, what you've always felt, was the truth your soul recognized long before your mind caught up. Yes, someone in your own family envies you. Not because you're perfect, but because you didn't give up. Because you kept building. Because you kept rising. Because no matter how many times life pushed you to the ground, you stood back up and climbed. And for some, that's unbearable to witness. They didn't see your nights of loneliness. They didn't see the tears behind your strength. They didn't see the times you had nothing but still chose to believe in something greater. But the divine saw it. And that's why you're still here. That's why your name keeps surviving conversations meant to destroy you. That's why your legacy keeps unfolding, even when others tried to bury it. Capricorn, you are not cursed. You are covered. And while others tried to tear you down with whispers, heaven built something unshakable within you: wisdom, clarity, and purpose. So now, you choose. You can keep waiting for their approval. You can keep hoping they'll finally understand you. Or, you can rise. You can protect your energy, honor your boundaries, and release the pain not because they deserve it, but because you do. You deserve to be free. Free from guilt. Free from cycles. Free from the belief that you must earn love from people who only offer conditions. And as you step into this next chapter, do so with the full knowing that you are not alone. There are thousands, millions of others like you, walking the same path. Wounded warriors. Quiet builders. Spiritual leaders disguised as ordinary people. You are not broken, Capricorn. You are becoming. And their envy will never outrun your destiny. Final life lesson. Your worth is not measured by the comfort of those around you. Your power is not diminished by their refusal to see it. And your path is not delayed by anyone who cannot walk beside you. You are chosen, protected, and rising exactly on time. If this message spoke to your spirit, if you finally feel seen, understood, and strengthened, leave a comment and declare it: I am divinely protected. Let it be your spiritual armor. Let it be your line in the sand. And most of all, subscribe. Because this journey is far from over, and here on Zodiac Secrets Revealed, we will keep uncovering the truths others are too afraid to say out loud. The truths that heal, empower, and restore. Capricorn, your story is not defined by who envies you. Your story is defined by the light you carry and the strength it took to protect it. You are not just surviving family envy, you are transcending it. And that is your power.